I found out my parents paid $55,000 for my sister's brand new SUV the same week I was calculating whether I could keep my used Honda running through another winter. Not because I wanted luxury. Because my brakes were grinding like a warning and my bank account was thin enough to see through. My name is Lauren. I was 25, living in a small apartment outside Columbus, working 2 jobs and driving a used silver Honda I bought for $4,000 cash that took me 3 months to scrape together. I didn't buy it because I loved it. I bought it because it started most mornings and most was better than nothing. The first time I saw the SUV was on my mom's phone. She called me while I was on my break, her voice bright and breathless like she had big news that was going to make my life better. "Lauren, you have to see what we just did for Paige." She didn't say hello. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask if my back still hurt from standing 8 hours at the diner. She just flipped the camera, and suddenly my screen was filled with a glossy black SUV sitting in a dealership showroom under fluorescent lights, and there it was. A giant red bow on the hood like it was a movie scene. Paige stood beside it, smiling so wide it looked practiced. My dad was behind her with his arm around her shoulders, proud like he'd just bought a trophy. "Isn't she gorgeous?" Mom squealed. "Paige has been working so hard. She deserves something safe." Safe. That word hit my stomach. I stared at the bow, at the clean tires, at the sticker still on the window. "How much?" I asked quietly. My dad answered casual. 55. But we got a great rate. 55. My brain did the math automatically. $55,000 was almost 2 years of my rent. It was my student loan balance plus a small miracle. It was the amount I'd been praying I'd earn before my Honda died. Paige leaned toward the camera, sweet voice. "Lauren, don't be weird. It's not like it's a Lamborghini." I blinked. My mom laughed like Paige had made the cutest joke. "She's just surprised, honey," Mom said. "We're all excited." I heard myself say, "I need to go," because my throat felt tight and I didn't trust my voice. Mom's smile faltered for half a second. "Wait, are you okay? You sound—" "I'm at work," I lied. "Customers." And I ended the call. I stood in the break room with the phone in my hand, staring at the black screen, hearing the buzz of the vending machine and feeling this familiar, humiliating heat behind my eyes. It wasn't jealousy. It was the math. 'Cause a month earlier I'd called my dad about my Honda. The brakes, the tires, the check engine light that kept coming back no matter how many times the mechanic cleared the code. I told him the estimate. $900 to fix the brakes and replace 2 tires. And not a fortune. Not 55,000. 900. My dad's response had been, "Lauren, you bought that car. You deal with it. I can't keep bailing you out." I remembered that sentence like it was etched into my ribs. I can't keep bailing you out. As if I was a sinking ship and not his daughter. As if a brake job was a luxury request. And now he was standing in a dealership smiling under fluorescent lights with a bow the size of my kitchen table on Paige's hood. When my shift ended, I drove home in my Honda with the radio off because I couldn't handle noise. Every stop sign felt like a test. Every squeak from the brakes sounded like proof that my life mattered less. At home, I sat on the edge of my bed and opened my banking app. I had $212 left after rent and groceries. I had a stack of student loan bills. I had a phone screen with my mom's happy face frozen in my head. That night, Paige posted the SUV on Instagram with the caption, "Blessed. So grateful for my parents." Comments poured in. Heart emojis. "You deserve it. Queen. Your parents are amazing." I stared at the post so long my eyes went dry. I wanted to comment. "Do you know what it feels like to hear your dad say he can't help you with brakes, then watch him drop 55,000 like it's confetti?" But I didn't. Because in my family, pointing out unfairness is called being negative. The next morning, my mom texted, "Come to dinner Sunday. We're celebrating Paige's new car." Celebrating. Like I should sit at the table and clap for the bow. I didn't respond right away. I stared at the message until my thumb went numb. Then I wrote, "I can't. I'm working." It was true. I picked up a shift because I needed money for my breaks. Mom answered with a sad face emoji. "Lauren, don't be like that. Paige wants you there. Family comes first." Family comes first. Another phrase that always meant, Lauren comes last. I didn't reply. On Sunday night, while they were at dinner taking pictures with Paige's keys on the table, I was under my Honda with a flashlight, trying to see if the leak was oil or something worse. My hands were covered in grime and my eyes burned. I felt ridiculous, like a background character in my own life. Then my phone buzzed. A video call from Paige. I wiped my hands, answered, and her face filled my screen. Behind her, I saw my parents' dining room, candles lit, wine glasses, Paige's new key fob sitting on a napkin like jewelry. "Why aren't you here?" Paige asked, voice too sweet. My mom leaned into frame, eyes glossy, ready to cry. "You're hurting your father's feelings," she said. My dad's voice came from the background. "I'm done chasing her. She's always been ungrateful." Ungrateful? For what? For not applauding my own downgrade. I inhaled slowly. "I'm under my car," I said. "Because I can't afford the repairs." Paige frowned like I'd spoken in another language. "Lauren, it's not our fault you bought a junk car." My dad stepped into frame now, jaw tight. "Don't guilt trip us. We do plenty for you. We let you stay on our insurance until you were 26. He said it like he'd paid for my entire life. I felt something in me settle, quiet and hard. "You bought Paige a $55,000 SUV. I said. "I asked for $900 for brakes. You said no." The room went still. My mom's eyes widened. "Lauren, that's not fair. Paige needed something safe." "So did I said. My voice was calm, which scared them more than if I yelled. "I drive in snow too. I work late too. I'm your daughter too." My dad's face reddened. "Paige appreciates what we do. You just complain." Paige nodded quickly, like a trained witness. "Yeah. You make everything about money." Money. The thing they were waving in my face like a flag. "Okay," I said. "Then let's make it about respect. You didn't even ask if I was okay. You just wanted me to come celebrate Paige." My mom's voice cracked. "We just want harmony." Harmony. The family word for silence. For me swallowing it. For smiling while I'm bleeding. I looked at them on my screen and realized I was done performing. "I'm not coming to dinner anymore," I said. "Not until you can admit what you're doing." Paige scoffed. "You're jealous." "I'm aware," I corrected. "There's a difference." My dad pointed at the camera like he could reach through it. "If you walk away over a car, don't come crawling back when you need help." I almost laughed. "You already told me you won't help. That's why I'm under my car right now." Then I ended the call. The silence after was thick. I stared up at the underside of my Honda, breathing hard, and for the first time I felt something that wasn't just hurt. I felt clarity. Paige's SUV wasn't the problem. Problem was the script. Paige gets gifts. Lauren gets lectures. And I had finally reached the part of the story where I stop reading my lines. The next morning, my phone was quiet in that suspicious way it gets right before my family decides which version of the story they want to sell. I made coffee in my tiny kitchen, staring at the brake estimate on the counter like it was a threat. $900. 2 tires and brakes. Not glamorous. Not a bow. Just the ability to stop when I needed to stop. Around noon, my mom finally texted. "We need to talk. You embarrassed us last night." Embarrassed. Not. "Are you okay?" Not. "Your car sounds dangerous." Just. "You made us look bad." I stared at her message and felt that old reflex trying to kick in. Apologize. Smooth it over. Make her calm. Then I remembered the bow. The showroom lights. My dad's casual. 55. I typed one sentence. I told the truth. Mom replied in seconds. "This isn't the time." Paige is sensitive. Sensitive. Code word that means. Paige's feelings are real. Lauren's are inconvenient. I didn't answer. I went to my afternoon shift at the diner and worked like my body was doing one thing while my mind replayed another. Every time my leg ached from standing, I thought about Paige's heated seats. Every time a customer complained about cold fries, I thought about my mom crying because I didn't show up to clap for the bow. That night, my manager asked me to stay late. I said yes because I needed money. When I got home, there was an envelope taped to my door. No stamp. No address. Just my name in my dad's handwriting. For a second, my stomach dropped. In my family, handwritten notes are never love. They're a verdict. I tore it open and found two things. A photocopy of Paige's insurance policy card. And a sticky note. "If you're going to act like this, you can get your own coverage. We're removing you next month." I sat on the floor with the paper in my hand like someone had punched the air out of me. This was their move. Not, "Let's repair this." Not, "Let's be fair." Just, punishment. I laughed once sharp because it was almost impressive how predictable they were. The moment I asked for equal safety, they took away the one safety net I still had. I opened my laptop and started searching insurance plans. The numbers made my eyes blur. More monthly bills. More pressure. More responsibility, the kind my dad claimed he wanted me to learn. Fine. I would learn it without them. 2 days later, my sister Paige sent me a voice memo. Her tone was soft, almost fake sad. "Lauren, I don't understand why you're doing this. Mom has been crying. Dad says you're ruining the family over a car. It's not like you didn't have choices. You could have bought something better." I listened twice because the audacity was so clean it almost sounded rehearsed. You could have bought something better. Like I was choosing struggle for fun. Like my second job was a hobby. I didn't reply. I was done debating reality with people who benefit from not seeing it. On Friday, my Honda's brakes finally gave me a real scare. I was coming down an off-ramp in light rain, not even speeding when traffic stopped fast. I pressed the brake pedal and felt it sink farther than it should. My car slowed, but not enough. I pumped the pedal, heart pounding, and managed to stop inches from the bumper in front of me. The driver looked back, annoyed. I sat there shaking, hands locked on the wheel, hearing my own blood in my ears. That was the moment I stopped being sad and started being furious. 'Cause this wasn't about jealousy. This was about risk. My parents had made a choice that put me in danger. And then they called my reaction drama. I got home and called my friend Margot, the one person who never tried to explain my family to me like it was normal. She answered and I just said, "I almost rear-ended someone. The brakes." Margot didn't ask if I'd exaggerated. She didn't say family comes first. She said, "How much do you need?" I swallowed hard. 900. Margot exhaled. "Okay. We'll figure it out." That word, we, hit me like warm water. "I can't ask you for that," I whispered. "You can ask," she said. "You just have to stop asking the wrong people." I sat on my couch after we hung up, staring at my ceiling, and something shifted. My entire life I'd been trained to chase love from the people who withheld it. But maybe love wasn't something you chase. Maybe it's something that shows up when you're not trying to earn it. The next day, Margot came over with her boyfriend and a toolbox. He crawled under my car like it was nothing and confirmed what I already knew. The brakes were dangerously worn. Tires were bald. "You're driving on luck," he said. I nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, I know." They helped me call around for the cheapest quote. They found a small shop that would do a payment plan if I paid half up front. $450. Still more than I had. I opened my banking app again. $289. I could barely breathe. That night, I did something I hated. Posted on my private social media. Not a fundraiser. Just a raw, honest note. If anyone knows a trustworthy mechanic or has spare tires, please message me. I'm trying to keep my car safe for work. Within hours, a coworker replied. Her cousin worked at a tire place. Another friend offered to lend me $200. Margot sent $100 without asking. Little bits. Real help. It wasn't glamorous, but it was solid. And the whole time, my parents stayed silent. Until Sunday. My dad showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door and he stood there in his work jacket, jaw set, like he'd come to collect a debt. "We need to talk like adults," he said. I stared at him. "I'm at work in 10 minutes, I said. "Say it." He stepped inside without waiting. He looked around my tiny living room like it offended him. "Your mother is ashamed," he said. "People are asking questions. They saw Paige's car. They heard you're upset." Again. People. The audience. Their reputation. Not my safety. I crossed my arms. "My brakes almost failed, Dad," I said. "I asked for 900. You said no. Then you spent 55,000 on Paige. Explain it." His eyes hardened. "Paige is younger. She needs more help. You're the independent one." There it was. My old label. Independent. The word they used to excuse neglect. "Independent doesn't mean disposable," I said. Dad scoffed. "You always take everything personally." I held his gaze. "Because it is personal. I'm your daughter." For a second, something flickered in his face. Not guilt. Not love. Calculation. He realized he couldn't intimidate me with his voice anymore. So he changed tactics. "Fine," he said. "If money is what you want, you can have money. But you're going to apologize to your mother and your sister first. And you're going to stop telling people our business." I felt my stomach twist. He wasn't offering help. He was offering a transaction. Money in exchange for my silence. I breathed slowly. "No," I said. Dad's eyes widened like he couldn't believe the word. "No." I repeated. "I'm not selling my dignity for $900. He stepped closer, voice low. "Lauren, don't be stupid." I looked at him and felt something cold settle in my chest. "I'm not being stupid. I'm being free." Dad's face went red. "Then don't come crying to us." I nodded. "I won't." He stared at me for a long second, then turned and walked out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle my cheap picture frames. I stood there shaking, but it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline. Because I'd just refused the deal that kept my family running. The deal where Paige gets gifts and I get silence payments. And once you refuse that deal, everything changes. After Dad slammed my door, I stood there with my hands still on the knob, like my body needed proof the boundary was real. My cheap frames on the wall tilted slightly from the impact, and for a second I almost laughed because it felt symbolic. My whole life in one shaky picture frame, held up by nails someone else chose. One slam and everything shifts. I fixed the frames not because I cared about the art, but because I needed a small action that reminded me I can study my own space. Then I grabbed my apron and went to work like nothing happened, because bills don't pause for emotional breakthroughs. The diner, the world kept moving. Coffee refills. Can I get extra ranch? A toddler screaming because his pancake looked wrong. I smiled, nodded, carried plates, and inside my head a different noise kept playing. My dad's voice. If money is what you want, you can have money. But you're going to apologize first. He wasn't offering help. He was offering control disguised as generosity. That night, when I got home, Margot had texted. Any updates? Also, I found 2 used tires from my cousin's shop. Good condition. $120 for both. I stared at the message and felt that warm sting behind my eyes again. 'Cause it was simple. She didn't ask me to beg. She didn't demand I prove I deserved help. She just helped. I replied, "Yes, please. I can pay Friday." She sent back a thumbs up. No guilt. No lecture. Just logistics. 2 days later, I finally got the brakes done. I scraped together the half payment. $200 from a friend. $100 from Margot. The rest from my overtime tips. I sat in the waiting room of the little shop, watching a dusty TV play a cooking show, and when the mechanic handed me the keys, he said, "You're good now. But don't wait that long next time." I forced a smile. "I won't." In my head, I added, "Not with people who treat safety like a reward." I drove home and pressed the brakes a few times on purpose just to feel the firm response. It was such a small thing, but it felt like a miracle. The ability to stop. That night, I posted nothing. I didn't announce. I didn't prove. I just sat on my couch and let my body relax in a way it hadn't in months. Then, of course, my family did what they always do when I find stability without them. They tried to reclaim the story. Paige texted me. "Dad said you refused help. Why are you doing this to Mom?" I stared at the message and felt my irritation rise like heat. Refused help. Like Dad offered me a gift. Like it wasn't a transaction with conditions attached. I typed, "I didn't refuse help. I refused a deal." Paige replied instantly, "You always twist everything. Dad just wanted respect." Respect. Another word in my family that really means obedience. I didn't answer. I put my phone face down. I was done trying to explain water to people who benefit from pretending it's air. The next day, my mom showed up at the diner. Not at my apartment. Not in private. At work. My mom loves public settings when she wants control because she knows I won't raise my voice. She walked in wearing her nice cardigan, the one she wears to church, and she sat in my section like she was a customer. My stomach dropped, but my face stayed neutral. I approached with my notepad. "Hi, Mom." She smiled too brightly. "Hi, honey. Can we talk?" I glanced around. Tables full. My manager watching. "I'm working," I said. Mom's smile tightened. "We'll be quick." She ordered coffee she didn't need, waited until I set the mug down, then leaned forward and lowered her voice. "You've made this so hard," she said. Not, "Are you safe now?" Not, "Did you fix the car?" Just, "You made this hard." I stared at her and felt something inside me flatten. "My brakes almost failed, Mom," I said. "I fixed them." Her eyes flicked, like she didn't want to hear that part. "Good," she said quickly, then moved on. "Paige is devastated. She thinks you hate her." I exhaled slowly. "I don't hate Paige," I said. I hate being treated like I'm worth less. Mom's mouth tightened. This isn't a competition, she whispered. It's not supposed to be, I said. But you made it one when you put a bow on her hood and told me my safety was my problem. Mom's eyes flashed with that familiar mix of guilt and anger. Lauren, you're being dramatic. It was a gift. It was a celebration. Your father works hard. I almost laughed. So do I said. I work hard too. And the one time I asked for help, he told me to deal with it. Mom's voice softened, performative. Your father didn't mean it like that. He was stressed. And you know Paige. She's sensitive. I looked at her. Why does Paige's sensitivity always cost me? Mom blinked. I saw it. The moment she realized I wasn't going to fold because we were in public. So she tried a new tactic. We could help you now, she said quickly. If you apologize. Just a simple apology. Then we can move forward. My heart pounded, but my voice stayed calm. Apologize for what? I asked. Mom's eyes widened slightly, like she couldn't believe I didn't already know my assigned role. For embarrassing us. For making it seem like we don't care. She said. I stared at her and felt this clear understanding settle in my bones. They cared about seeming. Not being. Mom, I said quietly. I'm not apologizing for noticing the truth. Her lips parted. Lauren, she whispered like my name was a warning. I kept going. If you want a relationship with me, it can't be based on me pretending I'm fine while you pour resources into Paige. I'm not doing that anymore. Mom's eyes filled with tears, right on cue. So you're choosing this. You're choosing to break our family. I felt the old guilt try to climb up my throat. I pushed it down. No, I said. I'm choosing to stop being the cost. My manager called my name from the counter. I looked at my mom. I have to work. Mom grabbed my wrist, light but possessive. Please, she said. I gently pulled away. Not like this, I said. Not with conditions. Then I walked away to refill a table's water like my life wasn't splitting into before and after right there in booth 4. After my shift, my manager pulled me aside. Everything okay? She asked. I nodded because I didn't have language for it yet. Yeah, just family. On the bus ride home, my phone buzzed again. A notification. Paige posted a new photo with her SUV, the bow still in the shot, captioned, Some people can't stand seeing you happy. But I'm choosing peace. I stared at the words and felt my jaw clench. That was the news story. I'm the villain. She's the victim. Because it's easier than admitting the truth. But then I remembered something. Stories only work if you keep showing up as the character they wrote. And I was done auditioning for the role of jealous sister. So I did the quietest, loudest thing I could do. I unfollowed her. Then I muted my parents. Not blocked yet. Not final. Just enough distance to breathe. And for the first time since the bow, I slept through the night. Muting them didn't fix my family. Just stopped them from living inside my head 24/7. That week felt strange, like walking outside after being in a loud room for too long. The silence was almost painful at first because I was so used to constant correction. Constant pressure. Constant little messages that reminded me who mattered more. Without the pings, my brain had room to notice things I'd been ignoring. Like how my shoulders were always tight. Like how I flinched when my phone lit up. Like how I automatically rehearsed excuses for them before they even spoke. On Wednesday, I had the first real moment of peace driving home. I tapped the brakes at a yellow light and the car stopped smoothly. No grinding. No panic. No white-knuckle prayer. I pulled into my apartment lot and sat there with my hands on the wheel, just breathing. It hit me then. I solved the unsafe car problem without the people who claimed they were my safety net. The net was decorative. The net was for show. That night, Margot came over with takeout and we ate on my couch while I told her about my mom showing up at the diner. Margot's eyes went sharp. "Your mom chose your workplace on purpose," she said. "That's not accidental. That's control." I stared at my food. "She cried," I said. "She always cries." Margot nodded like she'd seen it 1,000 times. "Crying isn't always remorse," she said. "Sometimes it's a reset button." I swallowed hard because that was exactly what it felt like. Like she wanted me to press back into my old place so everything would look normal again. The next morning, I checked my email and saw a calendar invite from my parents' email address. Subject: family meeting. No question. No request. Just a time and a location. Their house. Sunday. 5 p.m. I stared at it and felt my pulse jump. Not because I wanted to go, because my body still believed I had to obey. Then I noticed the details in the invite. "We will discuss Lauren's behavior and expectations going forward." Expectations. Like I was an employee on probation. I didn't decline right away. I just let it sit there because I wanted to see if they would follow up like normal humans. They did not. They never asked if I could make it. They never asked if I was okay. It was a summons. Saturday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I ignored it. It rang again. I ignored it again. Then a text came through. "It's Dad. Call me now." I stared at it. New number. Same tone. Like I was late on rent. I didn't call. 5 minutes later. Another text. "If you don't come tomorrow, don't bother calling us again." There it was. The threat disguised as boundary. I felt a weird calm settle in my chest. Not peace. Not happiness. Just that clear clarity that shows up when someone finally says what they've been implying your whole life. Love. Conditional. I typed one line. "I'm not coming to a meeting about my behavior. If you want to talk to me like a daughter." I stared at the message for a full minute before I hit send because I knew the second I did, they'd call it disrespect. Then I sent it. The reply came fast. "You're ungrateful. After everything we've done. Paige is heartbroken. You owe your mother an apology." I read it once and my stomach tightened, but I didn't answer. I put my phone down and took a shower like I could rinse the old guilt off my skin. Sunday came and went. I worked a brunch shift and kept my head down. Around 5 p.m., when their family meeting would have started, my phone started buzzing like a trapped insect. Text after text from my mom. "Lauren, please. You're doing this on purpose. Your father is furious. Paige is crying. How can you be so cold?" Cold. Another word they use when I stop bleeding for them. I didn't respond. I went home, made cheap pasta, and sat on my couch listening to the downstairs neighbor's TV through the wall. Ordinary noise. Ordinary life. Then, at 9 p.m., my dad left a voicemail from the same unknown number. His voice was low, controlled, the way it gets when he wants to sound reasonable to himself. "Lauren, this is ridiculous. You're tearing the family apart over a car. Paige has done nothing to you. Your mother is sick with worry. If you come over and apologize, we can move on. If you don't, then you're choosing this." I listened twice. The line that stuck was, "If you come over and apologize, we can move on." Move on. Without acknowledging the bow. Without acknowledging the $900. Without acknowledging the way my safety became my lesson. To move on meant, return to your role. After the voicemail, I sat very still. My heart was pounding, but my mind was clear. He didn't say, "We're sorry." He didn't say. "We messed up," he said. "Apologize and we can move on." That's not reconciliation. That's submission. Monday morning, my manager asked if I wanted more hours because someone quit. I said yes. Not because I wanted to work myself into dust. 'Cause I wanted a cushion. A savings buffer. A way to never have to go back. I picked up extra shifts and my days became simple. Work. Sleep. Eat. Repeat. And then something happened that cracked the story they were trying to sell. One of my aunts, the one who usually stayed neutral, messaged me privately. "Hey, I heard there's drama. Is your car okay?" Just that. Is your car okay? Not. Why are you being difficult? Not. How could you embarrass them? My throat tightened. I typed back. "It's fixed now." It almost failed. I asked Dad for help. He said no. Then they bought Paige a $55,000 SUV. There was a long pause. Then she replied, "Oh, I didn't know that." I stared at her message and felt something shift. 'Cause that was it. Truth isn't dramatic. It's just inconvenient for the people who benefit from the lie. A few days later, I ran into my cousin at a gas station. She hugged me quick and whispered, "For what it's worth, people are starting to ask questions." I blinked. "What people?" She shrugged. "Church people. Family people. They saw the SUV post. They heard you didn't come to the meeting. Your mom keeps saying you're jealous. But..." She hesitated. "It's hard to sell jealous when you're working double shifts and your car almost broke down." I got in my Honda and sat there, hands shaking slightly, not from fear. From the strange relief of being seen. Not by my parents. By the outside world. The world my parents cared about so much. And that's when I realized the bow wasn't just a gift. It was a billboard. It advertised who they were. But it also accidentally exposed who they weren't. And for the first time, I wasn't the only one doing the math. When people started asking questions, my parents panicked in a way they never did when I was hurting. Because pain in private doesn't threaten their image. Only doubt in public does. I didn't even have to do anything. I just kept living. Kept working. Kept showing up in my old Honda that now stopped safely. And the contrast did the talking. Tuesday night I got a text from Paige. Not sweet this time. Sharp. "Congrats. You got what you wanted. Everyone thinks Mom and Dad are monsters now." I stared at it, jaw tight. I hadn't posted a rant. I hadn't made a video. I hadn't done a public call-out. I hadn't even commented on her SUV photo. All I did was not show up to clap. That was enough to shake the story. I typed slowly. If people are questioning them, it's because the truth doesn't match the picture. Paige replied instantly. "You're obsessed with money. That's your problem." I breathed out. Money is the language they chose, Paige. They spoke it first. She didn't respond. An hour later, my mom called from another new number. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail that started with a shaky inhale. "Lauren, please. We can't keep doing this. Your father is embarrassed. People are whispering. Paige is stressed. Can you just come over and hug us and make this go away? Hug us and make this go away." She didn't say, "Can we make it right?" She said, "Make it go away." Like my feelings were a stain on their nice tablecloth. I sat on my couch listening to her voice, and it hit me how much of my childhood was me cleaning emotional messes I didn't make. I didn't call back. I went to sleep. The next day, my aunt texted me again. The one who asked if my car was okay. She said, "Your mom is telling everyone you refused help and you're punishing them. Is that true?" My stomach turned. Refused help. Their favorite rewrite. I took a deep breath and sent her screenshots. 1. My dad's sticky note about removing me from insurance. 2. His text offering money only if I apologized and stopped telling people our business. 3. The break estimate dated before Paige's SUV purchase. I didn't add commentary. I let the receipts speak. My aunt replied a few minutes later. Oh, wow. I'm sorry, Lauren. Sorry. That single word felt heavier than 1,000 speeches. 'Cause it was an acknowledgement without conditions. Later that evening, my cousin Marissa called me. She sounded uncomfortable. So, I talked to Mom. She said. She's really upset. She says you're making her look bad. I laughed once, quiet. I didn't do anything to make her look anything. She did it herself. Marissa hesitated. I mean, I saw the screenshots. She admitted. It's just, I didn't know it was like that. That phrase kept coming. I didn't know. Told me something important. My parents weren't just unfair. They were strategic. They sold different versions of themselves depending on the audience. And I had been the easiest audience to control because I wanted them to love me. Thursday night, after a double shift, I came home exhausted and found a small package on my doorstep. No note. Just my name in Paige's handwriting. My stomach tightened. I carried it inside like it might bite me. Inside was a keychain. A brand new keychain with the logo of Paige's SUV dealership. Under it was an envelope with $100 cash. No letter. No apology. Just money. I sat on my couch staring at it and I felt anger bloom hot and clean. Because they still didn't get it. They still thought this was about money in the simplest way. Here. Take $100. Now shut up. My phone buzzed. Paige texted. Mom made me send that. She said it might help you feel included. Included. With $100. While Paige drove $55,000. I typed. Keep it. I don't want pity cash. Paige replied. It's not pity. It's family. I stared at that word. Family. The word they use when they want access to me without accountability. I didn't respond. I grabbed the envelope, put the cash back inside, and the next day I drove to my parents' house for the first time since the door slam. Not to apologize. Not to cry. Not to beg. To return the transaction. I parked on the street because I didn't want to be in their driveway like a child asking permission. I walked up, knocked, and my mom opened the door so fast it was like she'd been waiting behind it. Her eyes were red. She reached for me immediately. Lauren, baby. I stepped back. I'm not here for a hug, I said calmly. My mom froze. Behind her, I saw my dad in the living room, arms crossed, face hard. Paige was on the stairs, half hiding, watching. I held out the envelope. I'm returning this, I said. My mom blinked. What? Why? We're trying. I kept my voice steady. You're trying to buy silence, not fix the problem. My dad's jaw tightened. Don't be dramatic, he snapped. I looked at him. You spent $55,000 on Paige's SUV. I asked for $900 for brakes. You said no. Then you offered money only if I apologized and stopped talking. That's not love. That's a contract. My mom's face crumpled. We didn't mean it like that. I nodded once. Intent doesn't change impact. Dad stepped forward. So what do you want? He demanded. His tone was irritated, like my boundary was an inconvenience. I breathed in. I want you to say out loud that you treated us differently, I said. I want you to admit that my safety mattered less than Paige's image. And I want you to stop calling me jealous when I'm just pointing out math. The room went still. Paige's face tightened. My mom's eyes flicked to my dad, searching for permission to agree. My dad's lips curled. "We are not doing this," he said. "We're not going to be judged in our own home. Paige deserves good things. You could have had good things if you made better choices." There it was. Blame. Always blame. I felt my chest tighten, but my voice stayed even. "I made choices based on survival," I said. "You made choices based on favoritism." Dad's eyes flashed. "Get out," he said. My mom grabbed his arm. "Please," she whispered. He shook her off. Then he looked at me like I was a stranger. "You want to talk about math? Here's math. We don't owe you anything." I nodded slowly. "Then stop asking why the phone is silent," I said. I placed the envelope on the entry table, turned, and walked out. My hands were shaking when I reached my car, but it wasn't regret. It was the shock of finally seeing it clearly. They weren't confused. They were committed. Committed to a story where Paige is the investment and I'm the lesson. And I was done being taught. I sat in my Honda for a full minute after I left their house. My hands were on the steering wheel, but I wasn't driving yet. I was just breathing because something about hearing "we don't owe you anything" out loud does a weird thing to your body. It hurts. And it frees you. 'Cause now the denial is documented. Now you stop waiting for them to magically become the parents you keep hoping for. On the drive home, I took the long route on purpose. I wanted to feel what it was like to exist without rushing to fix their feelings. I stopped at a gas station, bought a cheap coffee, and stood outside under the fluorescent lights like I was watching someone else's life. A life where your biggest problem is the price of gas, not the price of being loved. That night, I didn't mute them. I blocked them. Mom, Dad, Paige. Not to punish them. To protect my nervous system from the next round of rewriting. 'Cause I knew what would come next. If they can't control me privately, they'll control the narrative publicly. 2 days later, the narrative arrived right on schedule. My cousin Marissa sent me a screenshot of a family group chat I wasn't in anymore. My mom had posted a long message about how Lauren is struggling with jealousy and resentment. How they tried to help her. How I refused support. How my dad was heartbroken. Then my Aunt Claire chimed in with, "We should pray for her." Pray. Like I was sick. Like I was a problem to be fixed. I stared at the screenshot and felt my stomach twist, but I also felt something else. Relief. 'Cause this was proof. Proof that when they can't control you, they will diagnose you. They will label you. They will turn your boundary into a symptom. I didn't respond in the group chat. I couldn't. I was blocked from it by design. So instead, I did the only thing that makes people like that nervous. I stayed calm and collected evidence. I made a folder on my laptop called Receipts. I put everything in it. The break estimate. Dad's sticky note. The insurance threat. His conditional offer. Paige's texts calling me jealous. Screenshots of the group chat claims. Not because I wanted to blast them. 'Cause I needed the truth to exist somewhere outside my head. That weekend, my aunt who had asked, "Is your car okay?" invited me to coffee. Her name was Denise. She was the closest thing I had to a neutral adult in that family. We met at a quiet place with booths and soft music, and the second I sat down, she said, "I'm not here to lecture you. I just want to understand." Those words alone almost made me cry. 'Cause I realized how rare it was for someone in my family to want understanding instead of obedience. I told her everything. The 900. The bow. The diner ambush. Dad's deal. The family meeting. The envelope with $100 like a hush payment. Denise listened without interrupting. When I finished, she took a slow breath. Lauren, she said, I'm going to say something that might hurt. Your parents don't know how to love outside of control. Paige isn't just favored. She's part of their image. You are the one they used to feel powerful. I stared at my coffee. So what do I do? I asked. Denise didn't hesitate. You build a life where their permission isn't required, and you stop negotiating your worth with people who benefit from you feeling small. That sentence landed like a brick in my chest. On the bus home, I looked out the window and realized how much of my energy had been spent on negotiations I never agreed to. I will be easier if you are kinder. I will be quieter if you include me. I will accept less if you call it love. But no more. The next week at work, something shifted. My manager pulled me aside and said, I heard from Margot that you've been taking on a lot. We have a lead server position opening. It's more responsibility, but it's more money. You've earned it. My throat tightened. When would it start? I asked. She smiled. If you want it, next month. I nodded so fast I almost laughed. I want it. That night, I opened a spreadsheet and started doing real math for myself, not for my parents. Lead server pay, tips, rent, insurance, break fund, savings. I made a line called Freedom Buffer, the amount of money that would keep me from ever needing to call my dad again. It wasn't a fantasy number. It was a target, a plan, a timeline. In the middle of all that, Paige tried to break through my blocks by emailing me from her work address. Subject line. Seriously. The body was one sentence. Are you happy now? I stared at it for a long time, then typed a reply I never sent. No. I'm sad. I'm furious. I'm grieving. But I'm not available for your story anymore. I deleted it and archived her email. I wasn't going to keep feeding the machine. 'Cause attention is fuel. And my family had lived off my attention for years. A few days later, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. My mom's voice trembling. Lauren, please. We miss you. Your father says you're making us look bad. He says you're punishing us. But I just want my daughter back. I listened once and felt that old pull. The urge to soften. To rescue. Then I heard the phrase. Making us look bad. Not. We're sorry. Not. We were wrong. Just. Image. I deleted the voicemail. I didn't block the number because I already knew they could always make a new one. Instead, I wrote a note to myself and taped it to my fridge. Love is not a contract. Safety is not a reward. Every time my phone buzzed, I looked at that note. And slowly, the buzzing stopped feeling like an emergency. It started feeling like background noise. Like a TV in a neighbor's apartment. Something that exists but no longer controls the room I live in. The first month after I blocked them felt like withdrawal. Not because I missed the chaos, but because my brain had been trained to treat chaos as connection. If I wasn't reacting, wasn't explaining, wasn't fixing, then who was I in the family system? I'd been the one who absorbed the tension so everyone else could keep pretending everything was fine. Without me, the tension had to land somewhere. And it did. One night Margot called me, laughing in that shocked way people laugh when something is so ridiculous it's almost impressive. You'll never guess what your dad did, she said. My stomach tightened automatically. What? I asked. He posted a photo on Facebook, she said. A whole proud parents post. You know. Smiling family photo. Paige in front of her SUV. Caption about how family is everything. And then a bunch of comments asking where you are. I sat up straighter. What did he say? I asked. Margot snorted. He replied. Lauren is going through a phase. We love her anyway. A phase. Like my boundaries were teenage rebellion. Like refusing a hush deal was hormones. I stared at the wall and felt that familiar heat behind my eyes. Then I felt something else. A weird, almost calm amusement. 'Cause I could finally see the pattern from outside the fishbowl. When my dad can't control me, he infantilizes me. He turns my adulthood into a phase so he doesn't have to acknowledge my point. "Did you comment?" I asked Margot. "No," she said. "But your Aunt Denise did." My breath caught. "What did she say?" I asked. Margot's voice softened. She wrote, "Lauren isn't in a phase. She's setting boundaries. Please respect that." For a second, my throat closed up. Boundaries. Said publicly. By someone in the family. No guilt. No, but they mean well. Just truth. "What happened?" I whispered. "Your dad deleted the whole post," Margot said. I actually laughed. Not happy. Not mean. Just stunned. 'Cause that told me everything. He wasn't posting to connect. He was posting to manage perception. The second someone introduced reality, he erased it. The next week, my brother, Paige's boyfriend Ryan, followed me on Instagram. I hadn't spoken to him in months. It was one of those silent moves people make when they're curious but don't want to admit it. I didn't accept. I just watched it sit there. 'Cause I'd learned. Success is privilege. Not entitlement. 2 days later, I got a message from Paige's friend, some girl I barely knew in high school. "Hey. Paige is really sad. She says you're punishing her. Is everything okay?" I stared at the text and felt my stomach tighten. They were sending messengers now. Flying monkeys. People who could guilt me without being blocked. I typed one sentence. "I'm safe. I'm not discussing my family." Then I blocked her too. Felt harsh. But harsh is sometimes just clear. At work, my lead server promotion started early because the other candidate quit. Suddenly I was training new hires, balancing sections, handling complaints, counting cash at the end of the night. It was exhausting, but it was the good kind of exhaustion. Kind where you collapse into bed knowing you built something real. Paycheck bump wasn't huge, but it was steady. And every week I transferred a little into my freedom buffer. $50. $100. Sometimes more if tips were good. Watching that number grow felt like watching a door unlock slowly. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just consistent proof that my life could expand without my parents. Then a small miracle happened. My Honda finally passed inspection without a single warning. When the mechanic handed me the paper and said, "You're good for another year," I sat in my car afterward and cried. Not because of the car. 'Cause the car represented everything my parents had tried to turn into a moral lesson. You don't deserve help. You should have made better choices. You should have tried harder. But the truth was, I did try hard. I just didn't have their money. And I still survived. I still fixed it. I still kept myself safe. A few days after that, I ran into Denise again. She hugged me and said, "Your mom called me." My stomach dropped. "What did she say?" I asked. Denise sighed. She cried. She said you're breaking her heart. She asked if I could talk sense into you. Talk sense. Like boundaries are irrational. "What did you say?" I asked. Denise looked me straight in the eye. "I told her I won't participate in making you smaller," she said. "I told her if she wants you back, she needs to stop bargaining and start apologizing. Real apologies. No conditions. No, but..." My eyes stung. "Did she listen?" I asked. Denise shrugged. She heard it. Listening is a different skill. That night, my mom tried again. A letter this time slipped under my apartment door. No stamp. No return address. Just handwriting I recognized instantly. My hands actually shook when I picked it up because paper feels more intimate than texts. The letter started soft. Lauren, I miss you. The house feels empty. Then it turned. Your father is hurt. Paige is confused. People are talking. I don't know why you can't just let this go. Let this go. Translation. Let them keep the bow story without consequence. The end, she wrote. If you come to Sunday dinner and we start fresh, we can help you with a newer car someday. There it was again. The deal. The bribe. A newer car someday if I return to my role now. I sat on my couch holding the letter and I realized something. They weren't offering me a car. They were offering me a leash. I took a pen and wrote one line at the bottom. I don't need a newer car. I need respect. Then I folded it back up and walked it to Denise's mailbox because I didn't want to engage directly. I wanted a witness. Someone who could confirm I wasn't cruel. I was clear. The next morning Denise texted me. I got it. I'm proud of you. Proud. Another word I rarely heard in my family unless it was about Paige. Sat in my chest like warmth. And that's when I realized the revenge part of these stories isn't always a dramatic confrontation. Sometimes revenge is refusing the bait. Refusing the hush money. Refusing the new bow. And choosing the boring, powerful thing. Consistency. Building a life they can't buy their way into. By the time summer hit, my freedom buffer finally crossed a number that made my shoulders drop. $2,000. It wasn't rich money. It wasn't SUV money. It was breathing room money. It was the difference between panic and planning. I stared at my savings account on my phone and felt this quiet pride settle in my chest. Not the loud kind my parents like, the kind you post with a bow. The quiet kind that comes from being your own backup plan. I started doing small things I used to feel guilty for. Buying decent groceries instead of the cheapest. Getting my hair trimmed. Placing my cracked phone case. Nothing flashy. Just proof that my life belonged to me. Then my family tried one last big move. My dad called my workplace. Not me. The restaurant. He asked for the manager and introduced himself like a respectable, concerned father. My manager told me later, eyebrows raised. Your dad wanted to know if you're okay. He said you're having money issues and he's worried you're being influenced by friends. Influenced. Like I didn't have a functioning brain. Like Margot was a cult leader. I felt my face burn with anger. But I also felt something else. Power. Because this time the public setting tactic didn't work. My manager looked at me and said, "Do you want him to be able to contact you here?" I swallowed. "No," I said. "Absolutely not." She nodded. "Done. We'll tell everyone to refuse." The fact that my boss protected me more than my parents ever did made my throat tighten. That evening I drove home and sat in my Honda in the parking lot, engine off, just thinking. My dad had tried to pull me back into the system by making me look unstable in front of my job. But all he did was confirm what I already knew. He wasn't interested in my safety. He was interested in access. 2 days later, Paige showed up outside my apartment. I saw her through the window first. Designer sunglasses. Perfect hair. She leaned against her SUV like she was in a commercial, but her posture was stiff. I didn't open the door right away. I watched her for a second and felt my chest tighten. Then I opened it, but I stayed in the doorway. "What do you want?" I asked. Paige lifted her chin. "Can we talk?" she said. I kept my voice calm. "About what?" She exhaled hard. "Mom is a mess. Dad is furious. People keep asking where you are. And honestly, I'm tired." Tired. Like this was an inconvenience to her schedule. I nodded once. "So what's the goal?" I asked. "To fix it," she said. "To make it normal again." Normal again. The word almost made me laugh. Normal for them meant I swallow it. Normal meant Paige gets the bow and I get the lecture. I leaned against the doorframe. Paige, I said, normal was never fair. Her jaw tightened. You act like we planned it, she snapped. I didn't ask them to buy the SUV. I looked at her. You didn't ask, I said. But you accepted. And you watched them refuse me $900 like it was nothing. And you still called me jealous. Paige's eyes flickered. For a second she looked younger. Less confident. They said you were being dramatic, she muttered. They said you always make things about money. I nodded. Because money was the proof, I said. It wasn't the only issue. But it was the easiest one to measure. $55,000 for you. 0 for my safety. Then they tried to pay me $100 to shut up. Do you understand how insulting that is? Paige looked down at her nails. I didn't know about the 100, she said quietly. Mom just told me to drop it off. I believed her. And that somehow made it worse because it meant my mom used Paige as a messenger without letting her see the whole picture. Paige swallowed. So what do you want? She asked, echoing my dad. I took a slow breath. I want accountability, I said. Not a deal. Not a bribe. Not a family meeting about my behavior. I want them to say, we treated you unfairly. We're sorry. We won't do it again. And then I want them to prove it with actions, not money. Paige's eyes narrowed. Dad will never say that, she said. Then that's the answer, I said. Paige's face tightened with frustration. So you're just cutting us off forever, she snapped. I shook my head. I'm not cutting you off forever, I said. I'm cutting off the version of you that needs me to be small to feel okay. If you want a relationship with me, it's going to be adult to adult. No threats. No guilt. No rewriting. Paige stared at me, and for a long second I thought she might cry. Instead she scoffed, like tears were embarrassing. You always have to make it a principle, she said. I nodded. Because if it's not a principle, it's always me paying the price, I said. Paige looked past me into my apartment, at my small couch, my cheap lamp, the quiet life I'd built. Is this better? She asked, voice smaller. Yes, I said honestly. It's harder. But it's real. And it's mine. Paige's shoulders sagged. Mom said you'd come back eventually, she muttered. I held her gaze. No, I said. Not for a bow. Not for a newer car someday. Not for approval. Paige stood there for a moment, then reached into her purse and pulled out something. A small envelope. Dad told me to bring this, she said. It's $2,000. For a down payment. He said it's a peace offering. My stomach twisted. There it was again. Money as leash. I didn't take it. I didn't even touch it. I just shook my head. Keep it, I said. Paige's eyes widened. Lauren, are you kidding? She whispered. That's a lot. I nodded. I know, I said. And that's why it's tempting. But it's not free. It's a receipt. It's a way to say you owe us again. I'm done owing you. Paige's face flushed. So you'd rather struggle, she snapped. I stayed calm. I'd rather be free, I said. She stared at me, then laughed sharply, bitter. You think you're so noble, she said. I didn't flinch. No, I said. I think I'm tired. And I'm done. Paige shoved the envelope back into her purse, turned toward her SUV, and paused like she wanted to say something else. Then she said, quieter, You really won't come to Sunday dinner. I shook my head. Not until it's real, I said. Paige got in her SUV and drove away, the tires barely making sound on the pavement. I closed my door and leaned my forehead against it, heart pounding. Not because I'd won. Because I'd finally stopped selling myself cheap. They bought a $55,000 SUV with a bow for Paige and called it love. I bought a $4,000 Honda and kept it alive with overtime and friends who didn't demand I apologize for needing help. In the end, my revenge wasn't taking their money. It was proving I could build a life where their money couldn't control me. They wanted me to come back for a bow. Choses braques. Boundaries. And a future that actually stops when I need it to.